U.S. military buildup in the Caribbean has raised concerns for regional safety and peace, fueling fears of impending war within a region historically free of military conflict. In the past, leaders of the Caribbean community, CARICOM, have promoted the region as a zone of peace until the recently installed government of Trinidad and Tobago broke with convention by declaring the region is not a zone of peace and welcoming U.S. military presence. But perspectives of the newly installed Trinidad and Tobago government are not that of the society. Trinidadian and Tobagonian societies are peace-loving, and most citizens of the Twin Island state are against the U.S. military presence for fear of the implications of war. For this reason, the current Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago must craft a valid excuse for her position surrounding the heavy U.S. military presence in the region. Cartels, crime, and training exchange of expertise were outlined reasons for the U.S. military presence in the territorial waters off Trinidad and in the country.
The excessive violence and death in the country has been used as grounds to host the U.S. military in Trinidad and Tobago waters under the guise of regional drug interdiction and crime control. Trinidad and Tobago has a homicide rate way above the world average and ranks 7th among countries with the highest homicide rate as of 2024, averaging 40.4 murders per 100,000 population. Homicide is the predominant social concern for citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, with national efforts barely able to keep up with the carnage, and political leaders turning to state-instituted lockdowns through consecutive state of emergencies, SOE, in order to slow the death toll. Since early September, the U.S. military has positioned itself in the Caribbean. Within that time to present, it has blown up 17 boats and killed over 80 persons in its so-called drug counter-trafficking exercises. These military exercises have been classified as extrajudicial killings by Human Rights Watch groups. But how has the U.S. military presence in the Caribbean helped crime, violence, and homicides in Trinidad and Tobago?
Do counter-trafficking activities offshore have a direct impact on crime and homicides in Trinidad and Tobago? Homicides and violent crime in Trinidad and Tobago are predominantly gun-related. Researchers admit that the Caribbean does not manufacture guns, and found most guns originate from the U.S. So how could U.S. military action for drugs in the Caribbean reduce gun crime and violence in Trinidad and Tobago? The thrust for military presence in the Caribbean has very little to do with crime and criminality in Trinidad and Tobago. U.S. military presence in the region has not reflected an improvement in the lives of the average citizen in the country, as nothing has changed for residents, communities, or districts who still face the violence,